It was a heavy night, as if the sky had lowered to touch our heads. I stood in the middle of the house, a small suitcase open in front of me, my hands trembling over it. I didn't know what to take and what to leave. How can a person sum up her entire life in minutes? Everything around me was screaming, "Stay." Every voice inside me whispered, "Run." The sound of the planes was near, sharp, piercing my chest before my ears. Then there was an explosion that shook the walls, and dust particles fell from the ceiling like the ashes of a burning dream. My firstborn was clinging to me, her eyes wide open. I won't forget her stares. Too silent. She didn't ask me. She didn't even cry. She was just looking at me, as if she was waiting for an answer from me that I didn't have. In that moment, I felt helpless for the first time. Not just out of fear. It was an inner breakdown, as if something inside me had silently collapsed. I tried to speak, to tell her, "Don't be afraid." But the words stuck in my throat. Silence is heavier than any sound. At 8:30 p.m., the phone rang. My sister's voice at the other end was far away, as if it was coming from another world that does not resemble this desolation. She was asking, trying to assure me. I could barely hear her. I was torn between her words and the sound of the approaching shelling, between her instructions and the fact that death was all around us. For a moment, I felt completely alone, even though someone was trying to reach me through that thin line of communication. I looked at my daughter, the one who was born under the roar of planes. There was a voice inside me shouting, "Protect them," and another whispering, "How?" Outside, danger was imminent. I vividly remember that moment when I had to choose, leave or stay. It was not an ordinary decision. It was an uprooting. I looked around me, at the walls that kept our laughter, at the corners that witnessed our small details, to a house that was no longer a home, but a place threatened by death. At that moment, I felt as if the place itself was speaking to me. The walls were whispering to me a faint voice. "Are you going to leave everything you lived here?" The windows that always let in the morning light were saying, "I'm the one who witnessed your joys and tears. How can you leave so quickly?" Even the doors seemed to cling to me, as if begging me not to close them one last time. The furniture that accompanied our days seemed silent, but it was full of words. The pictures hanging on the walls looked at me as if they were remembering the moments of joy we had experienced. My children's toys, scattered in the corners, were innocently asking me, "Will you come back to play?" The smell of the house itself, that smell of tranquility and belonging, was embracing me for the last time, as if to say, "I will stay here waiting for you, no matter how long you're away." In the midst of all this, a small thing happened that still stuck in my memory. While I was hurriedly putting some clothes in the bag, My little girl insisted on carrying her old doll that had lost one eye. She told me very seriously, as if she was making the most important decision in the world, she's scared too, and we shouldn't leave her alone. At that moment, despite the tears that were choking me, I smiled involuntarily. It sounded very simple, but it reminded me that children know how to give things a spirit, how to find a little reason for compassion in the cruelest moments. I put my hand on the door handle, and before I left, I turned around for a moment. The cup of tea I hadn't finished was still warm on the table, as if the house hadn't yet understood that we were leaving. Then I closed the door. We left. Since that day, I have not returned to that house. But something inside me still opens that door every night, entering it.